All right, we are live. All right, I would like to say welcome everybody. Good afternoon to our folks on the East Coast and the Midwest, and good morning to our folks here on the West Coast. And thank you guys for joining us for today's webinar. I think you guys are going to love this. My name is Ken Miguel, and here with me is Mike Lugo. How you doing, Mike?
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon.
And we got Richard Jones.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
All right, it's a beautiful day here in Southern California. It finally stopped raining. I think we're gonna get more rain, though.
Yeah, I think coming soon. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we got a great webinar today. It's gonna be on a different type of solution. Last month, we did a webinar on our floodlight camera, which was a solution meant for smaller scale residential apartments. Now we're taking it to the other side, larger scale, more cameras, more management. I think we got something good for you guys. This webinar is brought to you by Bolide Technology Group. We've been in business for 27 years, maker of only the best CCTV video surveillance equipment. We are a GSA scheduled vendor, ISO certified distributor, and of course, A+ customer service. Guys, stick around until the end of the webinar. We have a very special promo for you attendees on this particular product. So we'll go with that later. We'll be answering questions as we go through with the webinar. You guys will notice a chat box somewhere on your screen, so feel free to type in any questions and we're going to answer them as we go through the webinar.
So
in this webinar, we're going to talk about this 64 channel NVR. We're going to show you guys what's in the box when you buy it, what it is, how it works, how to set it up, how to set up IP cameras on it, how to set it up for local and remote viewing. Okay, so Richard, let's give our audience an introduction on what we consider an enterprise surveillance system is.
yes, normally for large-scale surveillance projects, you use a server. A server is used. Here you have some of the features of that solution. One of them is costly licenses. So above and beyond the cost of the hardware, the cameras, the server, you have to pay license fees for each camera, and that can add up. On top of that, you have maintenance costs up to 10% annually for additional fees for maintaining the software, maintaining the licenses.
So what we would say, right, enterprise system is systems that are maybe 32 cameras and up.
Yeah.
In this case, 64 channels and up, 128 channels. Just managing more channels, and also and that takes up certain amount of resources to run, takes up certain amount of storage to store, and like Richard said, the traditional solution for this type of system is servers, right?
Right.
So you put up a powerful computer that will run a VMS server, which works great. You have a lot of advantages, but there's also requirements that you have to get and pay for, right? And what you just said is licenses, right?
Right.
So what licenses you pay per channel?
Per channel. You got the maintenance costs. You pay for anything above and beyond that, maybe for analytics.
Yeah. So how it usually works with companies is you pay an upfront video license, and a lot of companies, some of the more popular ones, will actually charge the end user or the dealer up to 10% off to maintain the licenses, keep the VMS updated, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So that's part of the package. And if you need more functions such as your intelligence, analytics, integration with access control, POS, That's additional licenses, right?
Right. So you can
Okay.
see how it could bust a budget. And so that's one of the, and so these server solution is scalable. If you're due for an expansion, a larger facility, you can add more cameras to it. So extended retention times. You can add more storage above and beyond what you started with, and redundancy, mirror recording. In case of an emergency, you have a backup.
Yep. So this goes back to some of the more demanding functions on a larger scale system. Customers might want longer retention times, longer times than your typical DVR or NVR will probably provide you as far as built-in, storage. And you want functions like like the analytics, setting up tripwires, setting up perimeters, face detection, counting. And then you mentioned redundancy, right? That's, I want to record on these drives, and I also want to copy on these drives unless, in case the first group fails somehow, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's the cost of traditionally putting up an enterprise recorder, right?
Right. So we have a new solution. We have what we call an enterprise NVR, license free. So right off the bat, you're going to be saving on that.
Yep. So forget the license fees and the maintenance costs, right?
Right. So the capability run 4K on all 64 channels.
Yep.
So that has to do with the throughput of our unit. So that sets us apart. The most throughput, 640 megabits per second in the industry. So what that allows you to do is run 4K cameras without losing any resolution on all 64 channels.
So these are powerful?
Powerful and simple to use.
Okay.
It is scalable. So as you add more, you can add more to the existing NVR. You can stack them and add more NVRs. And analytics, we also have the extended retention time. You'll have the storage capability up to 64 terabytes. And with the redundancy, all of it controlled on one easy-to-use platform, Bolide CMS. You can add more NVRs, more DVRs. You have the playback up to 4 channels, and you can view up to 128 cameras at the same time. Plus third-party integration.
Well, we'll show our audience the hardware itself and the software.
Yes, let's take a look at what's.
So let's look at the unit itself. So you buy one of these. What do you get?
Inside the box, you get the NVR, you get the mouse, the remote, the manual, and take a look at that. Don't throw away this that CD that comes with it. That's the Bolide CMS software and the device configuration software that helps you find the network devices.
If you somehow throw it away, it's okay because we have it.
You
can download it and we can send it to you.
Yeah, plus a lot of computers nowadays don't even have CD-ROM. So, but keep it with you in your back pocket. It's a good tool to have.
Yeah. So right there says keep me. All right. So as far as specifications, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, take a look at that max throughput, 640 megabits per second. Now, for those who have questions about throughput,
I think it's important to talk about throughput. What is what is throughput, Richard?
Well, you may see 64 channels in other models, but really what sets us apart is the throughput. Consider throughput as the horsepower of the recorder. So we have 640 megabits per second, highest throughput in the industry. What does that allow you to do? You can run 4K on all 64 channels, no compromise on resolution, no compromise on frame rates on any channel.
Okay. So we have a question here. Let's just answer it real quick. So how do you compare with a Genetec Milestone, a Vigilon, or a Linnell VMS? So these are we talked about your server solution. So these companies make the VMS, right? So this is the software. You put in a server. You have a server and client softwares, and these are the licensed solutions that we're talking about. So How do we compare? Bolide has those solutions as well, but what we're going to talk about this webinar is an alternative, because if you're using a Milestone or a Genetec or an Avigilon system, it depends on what you're requiring from it, right? If you need, do you want highest recording resolution? Do you want playback? Remote access? You can get that. You can get those functions accomplished with this type of system, instead of going to those guys and paying what's required to run a system by these software companies. So going back to throughput, we mentioned it's a 640 Mbps, right?
Right.
What does a 4K camera eat up?
4K camera eats up 9.5 megabits per
9.5.
second.
Okay, so I can do 64 channels.
Got more than enough.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. Yeah, that's been limited. Beware when you guys buy NVRs, because a company might advertise this is a 4K NVR, but guess what? The throughput isn't enough to run 4K in all channels. So what you end up doing, you lower the resolution, or you to lower your frames, but you're compromising something, right?
And we can do this because they're H.265.
Yeah.
That's why we're able to push 4K at 640 Mbps.
And even the 4, 8, and 16 and 32 channel, they have throughput to run 4K H.265 cameras on all the channels.
Yep.
At max frames, max everything.
Okay, so you see there recording resolution, the display split. You can see one channel, you can see all 64. The output,
that's awesome, yeah.
And the output, 4K output, HDMI, you have a VGA.
Mm-hmm. And you can do 4K display resolution, right?
Yeah. Audio alarm in and out, audio in and out. We have a mobile device. You'll have the Bolide Quick Connect for your remote viewing. There's the storage up there. You have 8 bays, 8 terabytes per bay, 64 total. OnViv compliant, and the PoE. So let's take a look at the front, the back, and the inside. Okay, so let's see here.
Okay, let's look at the unit itself, right?
Yeah,
where's the front?
Okay, there you go. You see there is the QR code for remote viewing. You're going to get the Bolide Quick Connect app. You're going to 1, 2, 3. Download the app. It's free. You're going to scan that code there, and you can connect. And then there's USB 2.0 for a mouse in the front and the back.
Here's the back of the unit.
Here's the back of the unit. Really important to notice, you got a built-in PoE switch. You're just going to plug and play. The switch will automatically configure and power the cameras. Just plug in the IP cameras. NVR will auto-assign IP addresses, and you're going to have live stream in seconds.
Is that PoE Plus?
Yes.
Yep, PoE Plus? Yep. Okay. 30 watts per port, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You have your eSATA there. You have your VGA and HDMI. And there are two power plugs here.
Yes.
Right, Mike?
Yes.
Wow.
You do need them both. I've had customers only plug one in. You do need them both. Remember, it's a 64 channel NVR, so it's going to require both power supplies to be plugged in.
Let's take a look inside. There you see all 8 bays filled up, 8 terabytes each, 64 terabytes hard drive storage.
Okay, so we mentioned in the beginning higher retention times. So we have a solution for that. Unit with 8 bays, 64 terabyte max. This is more than enough to run 64 cameras. You get a decent amount of time. Are you able to record on the eSATA also?
You are able to record on the eSATA. It's a feature we didn't have prior. Now we can. You plug an external with an eSATA in there, and you can use that as backup or record to it. So that's in essence a 9th hard drive you can plug in, but it is 2 terabytes, so it's not 8, but you know.
Okay, but 8 on board built-in
Yeah.
up to 8 tera. Okay, so we've seen the unit. We know what it looks like. Let's go over the setup process.
All right, so let's take a look at the actual.
So let's say I order one of these NVRs. I turn it on. What's the first thing that I see?
Okay, so you're going to see, as you can see, there's 64 windows, and you can adjust that how you need it. 64 might be a lot to look at once. Maybe you want to look at 32, but if you want to look at all 64, you have that option. I want to point out real important is this right here on the corner. You got this little eye information. This is going to give you all the information you need to log onto the recorder. Any information we might need if you call us, tech support, your device ID, port numbers, you got your QR code there as well. If it's on a rack and you can't get to the sticker that's on top, you can always get to it inside the recorder. Even if you don't have login information, that's what this button here is for. So it's real important to know that that's where it's at. So let's take a look inside this menu. You guys, if you're familiar with our NVRs, it's pretty much the same. The only thing that you would see different is there's a whole lot of cameras to connect here. One thing I also want to point out is you see that 32 of them say PoE, the rest don't. It has 32 PoE ports that you switch to connect the other 32. Reason being, a lot of times you're not going to have 64 cameras in a area that small to just take one PoE switch. Plus, it's a lot of power. But let's say you want to add a camera to number 2. If you do not change this option in network to switch manual, you're not going to be able to do so. This allows you to manually enter cameras, and we'll get to OMVIF in a while, other manufacturers' cameras. So it's real important to know what this switch button is.
So Mike, if I buy this NVR and then a Bolide camera, how easy is the setup for me? If I'm the installer,
super
I send
easy.
guys out.
So here's what I'm going to do. You can see there I got one camera. I'm going to disconnect it. And let's go back to our camera's gone. Now I'm going to plug it in.
Plug it to the PoE, right?
To the PoE. I'm not going to do any other configurations. This is out of the box. I'm going to plug that guy in. So true plug and play. Give it less than a minute to show up. We have this is pretty cool that we added this password option here. So OMVIF, a couple other brands, private, you can pre-add the password. If you have a bunch of cameras, you don't have to go and add each password to every camera. It'll do a whole batch of them. Add it there. It's really, really simple. So here's my camera. Came up. Yep, less than a minute. And it's live. I can go straight to my live view. There it is. It's out of focus because I just connected it out of the box, but there you go. Pretty simple.
Is that a varifocal camera?
It is a varifocal camera.
How to focus the camera?
Oh yeah, let's do that. So
the
when you
motorized lens, right?
Yeah, when you left click over a camera, you have a little menu bar that pops up, and it's got things like manual capture. You can switch between your streams, start a manual record. You can do some instant playback, digital zoom, if you need to do some color adjustments on the screen. But I'm going to focus on this PTZ button, excuse me. And this is what's going to get you your motorized zoom. See, I just zoomed that out. It's pretty good. Yeah, real simple to use. I mean, it takes no training really. True plug and play.
Yeah, and we mentioned throughput. So if you look at on the bottom right is your total throughput, 640 Mbps, like you mentioned, and this is a 4 megapixel.
Yeah, I have it lowered because of we're streaming it over this webinar thing. So
yeah, so you see how much bandwidth is being used for this one camera.
So live. This allows you to change the name of the camera, where you want the OSD to appear, time format, color of the OSD, little things like that. Output, this is important. Aside from the video layout sequence, this resolution here. So this is 4K. I put it there, we'll lose this picture because I'm not using a 4K monitor, but you want to make sure that you're putting in 4K cameras, you want to use 4K monitor, set this thing to 4K to get the most out of your recorder. You want to see that crisp picture, make sure you enable this resolution all the way max.
Yeah.
On a 4K monitor, don't try doing that on a 2K monitor because it won't happen.
Yeah. One advice, guys, if you're gonna put up a 4K NVR and some nice IP cameras, sell them a 4K monitor.
Yeah.
It's just gonna do it justice. I
Yeah.
mean, they're the screens now. You can probably find them for $250 for a 46 or 49 inch 4K monitor.
So image control, also really important because I can do things like flip my lens, flip my view, something that with an analog camera really can't do. You got to go in there and actually turn it manually. For an installer, it's a hassle. This allows you to do it digitally from the recorder. Very simple to do. I can do 90, 180, 270. I can flip that lens around. So I can, in essence, I can just go and install it, point it where I need it, and I don't have to worry about if it's upside down or not.
That's a great point. We get asked, like, okay, how do I access my camera's menu, right? And
Yeah.
these are pretty much most of the important menus that
Yeah.
what WDR is on there.
WDR, for those of you who don't know what WDR is, wide dynamic range, highlight conditions. You know, you have highlight conditions. Someone walks up, you can't see their face because it's just a shadow. This is a miracle option to have on your cameras. Yeah, I can't emphasize how great this tool is. But you can go numerous. I can do anything with shutter speed. You can turn this thing into a license plate camera basically by adjusting the shutter control, white balance, things like that. More tools. Privacy zones. You can set up privacy zones. You don't want certain areas to be recorded because it's in your customer's patio. They have a jacuzzi. You know, they don't want that part to be recorded. You can black that out and it'll omit from the recording. Record. So really important. Schedule. You see in the schedule, there's an alarm, there's motion, and there's normal. This is where you set your schedule recording. Not, so let's say I want to do motion recording, and I go and I set this up, click here, do my motion, right?
It's like simple stuff too. It's 1 or 2 clicks away.
Yep. Now I'm able to record on motion. That doesn't mean I enabled my recording motion yet. So that's done under alarm and motion. You gotta still got to set that up. Here's my area to record. You know, red is what's recording. If it's clear, it's not recording. So right now I got the whole picture. So this enabled along with this will allow you to do the recording. Sometimes we have customers forget one or the other, and they wonder why it's not recording. So it's just real important to make sure that you emphasize those 2 settings are enabled. We talked about the switch under network. So if you want to add cameras that are past your 32 channel PoE or OMVIF cameras, this setting must be enabled to manual. You'll notice an IP address here. This is only for the PoE, onboard PoE of the NVR. Has nothing to do with your network here. Regular network that's going to go on their LAN. That's this.
Can they be set to the same
They cannot.
address?
They cannot be set to the same address. That's a big. It can get confusing. Customers will go change it to the same address, which you would think it would have to be, but then the NVR has its own private network.
Yeah. But anything you plug to the NVR will have that 10.10.25 scheme, right?
Yep. And the NVR will do its own routing, so it'll route those 2 addresses together and allow you to see them all in one place. Okay. Email. They want email notifications. There's also a schedule for that. They only want to get them after hours. That's fine. GDNS is kind of becoming obsolete with our Quick Connect, but it's an option that's there if customer wants it. RTSP, a little advanced setting, but it's basically real-time streaming. You can stream it from a server to a web page to different software. I briefly talked about motion and alarm. This alarm setting is for a actual alarm system. Input outputs, that's what this alarm is referring to.
So we mentioned, Mike, redundancy.
Yes.
So how do you do a mirror recording on this NVR?
So redundancy, we're used to redundancy, which is that word usually being in the same sense with RAID. So our recorder is not a RAID system, but it does do redundancy. It's one for one, and you can set that up different ways. What's cool about it is you can set it up to be redundant for different channels. You want to only do 1 through 10 and channel 55 and 64. Those will have a redundant recording hard drive that you set, or you can do it straight across. For redundant, for straight. You can set that up different ways because there's a group option, just groups. And it allows you to do groups of certain cameras going to certain groups, different configurations. Customers have different needs. It allows you to do that. It also has a smart function. This just basically tells you the health of your hard drive. Sectors that run tests that'll just help you out with knowing what the problem is. A lot of times we think it's the hard drive. It's not. It's something else. We replace the hard drive, and so it's a good tool to have. PTZs. It's digital, so we really don't need to. We're not really doing analog, so we don't have to worry about that. Cloud recording. Dropbox account. It's basically a failsafe. Somebody breaks in, takes the recorder. You know that you have those snippets on a Dropbox remotely. You can always go to.
And all these is license free.
License free.
Set up third party Bolide cameras.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Right?
Doesn't matter. System. So something I want to go over really quick is intelligent analytics.
Analytics. There you go.
This is the search. This is basically the like the record search. It'll tell you any triggers that happen. The actual analytics part is here in advanced. So it also has a schedule. And as I go through these different, it has the same, just like motion detection. You enable it, do a setup.
This is perimeter intrusion.
Perimeter intrusion. I turn the switch on, and I can make a line. If it comes anywhere in within this box, I'm gonna get a, however you set it up. I can get an email. I can get a trigger, some kind of trigger, something like that.
I can have it recording based on my analytics instead of the traditional motion detection.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't want.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And we have line crossing, pedestrian. What's PD is
detection.
Pedestrian detection, face detection.
Counting.
Counting is another one. Works excellent. You want to know who's coming, who's going. You can do it both directions. You can do it in, just out. Has all those functions.
That's great for like a retail environment. You want to know how many people are walking in and out. What's the traffic like? What time of the day?
Yep.
And you can do reports too, right?
Oh yeah, reports. That would be the section over here. Right here's our reports.
Yeah, so you can check your counts
daily, monthly, annually, however different settings, in, out, both, things like that. So let's talk about scalability. We talked about, right?
Yes.
So let's go over.
Well, what about if I want to add a device on the network or a third party camera?
Yeah. So
another manufacturer.
So let's go to we talked about that CD that comes with the recorder. In that CD, you are going to find a couple of programs. One of them, really, really, really important, is this guy here. So this is the device search tool, device config tool. This is going to give you all the Bolide cameras that are on the network. So I do a search. We have a lot. You can see them all here. Many, many, many of them. Here's my 64 channel recorder. And so if I want to add cameras to that recorder, I'm going to need to, well, if they're ours, you don't have to do anything. But if it's another manufacturer, you'd have to change you would need their search tool. Really important. If you're going to add another camera's manufacturer, make sure you have the search tool, the default password for the camera, all the information you need to log in, because you're going to need that to enter it into the NVR. Anyways, aside from that, here's my NVR. If I want to log into it, I can just click here, and it's going to take me to my interface. Here's my login screen. Default, there's no password. I'm going to go ahead and log in. There's the same NVR we were looking at, but here's my web interface. remember, if I want to add a camera on the network, I have to make sure that my switch under network is set to manual.
Manual mode.
Manual mode.
Okay.
You save that, and you'll see something different here. If I go back here, now all these cameras had pluses. When before these said POE on the left side, and I couldn't really do anything. Now I can add a camera from here. I can do a search, give it less than a minute, and you'll see all my cameras populate, and I can pick and choose which ones I want, or the order of what I want in number 2. There they are. So here are all my cameras. I can select one, add it. I can give an alias right now if I want. Enter. As you can see, my password's already there because I set the default. All the information's there.
If it's a third party, I would select OnVIF, right?
Correct. So let's go back in here real quick. So I would select OnVIF, and my port, if you guys are familiar with OnVIF, is 9 times out of 10, 80.
Okay. And make sure you put in the password before you add the camera.
Make sure you put in the password for the camera.
Not after you add the camera.
Well, you can, but it's more work.
Okay.
You know, it's more work to have to go that route. Yeah, that's how you would add a third-party camera. I can't emphasize how important this tool is, not only just for our cameras, but if you have another manufacturers, make sure you have their device search, IP search, camera search. They come different names, but very important to have this.
Okay, awesome. So we covered how to add our camera, how to add another manufacturer's camera, or a camera on the network. Going back to scalability, right?
Yeah.
So scalability, what we want is, let's say I'm past my 64 channels. I have another 64 cameras that I want to manage.
Yep.
NVRs are usually, limited, and you're maxed out. But how do we deal with scaling the system in our case?
So, awesome question. So as you can see here, here's my 64 channel. Right?
So what is the software?
This is also on the CD.
So this is called
this is the Bolide CMS surveillance client. We call it. There's my camera that we've been viewing, and you can see here on the left side I have 64 channels. Right here I can choose.
Can you show the audience how you added this?
Yeah. So there's my first 64, but I want to scale. So group device. Now, if you're on the same network, very simple. I can click add online device. Just like my search tool, here are all my cameras, all my recorders. My 64 is already there. I'm going to add another 32. I already have this added, but that's how you would add it. I would go and I would select, telling me it's already there. I'll get this window here, right? So IP address or P2P ID, whatever you're using, all your logon information, add it, and then you're going to import all. So back to my main menu. You can see there's my 64. Now I can add my cameras that I just added right now. Right? And let's go this one too. So now I just added 3 NVRs. One's 64, one's 32, and I believe this one's 32 as well.
All on one.
All on one.
You can see how many channels can you see it simultaneously?
So up to 128 at one time. I don't have
128 cameras.
I don't have 128 cameras connected, so but yeah, they would all appear here.
We got a question here. Is this software paid or included?
So the software is included. No license fees, just like everything else. Free. It's on that CD. John, you keep that CD with you. It's going to be your best friend. Yeah.
And is this for PC only or PC and Mac?
So good question. We have a PC and we have a Mac version. So it doesn't matter what your platform is. We can take care of you.
We've done several school projects where they all have Mac.
All have Mac.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. So yeah, scalability. There's all of our cameras. Let's go into. Let's go back to our recorder here.
So as far as remote access, how do we go about seeing this stuff? on a computer or a mobile device?
So, Quick Connect. Those of you familiar with our system should be familiar with Quick Connect. It's one of the greatest things that has happened to a lot of installers, a lot of end users. This thing is so easy, so simple, user friendly. I think Rich touched on 1, 2, 3. Download it, scan it, connect it. It's really that simple.
And that's why you were on the software. You were not seeing IP addresses on some of those units, right?
Correct, correct. So like I said, when you add it, you can add it through the P2P ID or the IP address. That's another reason why we're no longer using the DDNS, because DDNS is basically just name resolution for IP addresses. Quick Connect P2P is really simple. Peer-to-peer, direct connect to a device. Yep. And
So the Bolide app is called Quick Connect. Bolide Quick Connect is available on the iOS and Google Play Store. For Android, you can do live view up to 16 channels at once.
Yep.
And playback 4 channels.
Yep.
Multiple devices.
Multiple devices.
You
could also pick and choose what 16 cameras. So you have multiple systems. You want 3 from this one, 3 from that one. There's a favorite section that allows you to set up those 16 cameras in different ways.
Pinch to zoom.
Pinch to zoom is another one. Yeah. PTZ control from the app. It's pretty cool. You can record to your phone. That's another awesome feature. See something going on live, you want to record it. You record it to your phone, to your phone.
Awesome. Well, it seems like we're answering the questions in the beginning about an alternative solution to a server. I think this is way capable of doing a lot of those functions.
Oh yeah.
You showed the throughput, how to add cameras, how to add multiple devices on a management system, redundant recording.
Redundant recording. I can't emphasize how important that is, especially when something goes bad on the hard drive. You need that video. You have just assurance that it's going to be there. You're not going to lose that recording.
And analytics.
And analytics.
And
analytics.
No license fees, no maintenance costs. We had a question earlier about the Genetechs and the Milestones and the Linnells of the world. Yes, they're great, for particular customer. But what if you're trying to compete and budget-wise, maybe you have to look at something else, right?
Yeah. I mean, like Ken said, those VMSs, they're great, but they're expensive, and I've seen a lot of times where they just don't need all those. They have that, and they don't need it. They just, So in those situations, this is the perfect solution.
Well, let's give the audience an idea of who to sell this stuff to. What do you have for us, Rich?
Yeah, so whenever you need a simple, powerful solution for a large-scale surveillance project, like vertical could be a bank, educational facilities, industrial facilities, and a hospital healthcare setting. This is the perfect solution.
Awesome, pretty much anything large scale. Oh, we have a question here. Does this have a dual monitoring option that you can have different camera views on separate monitors without using a second DVR?
So yeah, my suggestion would be the CMS, the Bolide CMS. You can adjust those monitoring stations any way you want. Each PC would be independent of each other. So, you can set them up 1 through 5 on the first one, however you want. They're totally customizable any way you want to see those different monitors, different views, using the CMS. Yeah.
Another question, could this handle a site with 400 IP cameras?
So, like we said, the up to 128 would be your CMS limitation.
Simultaneously
view, yeah. So you can put a bunch more cameras, but you can only see 120 at a time. You can still record 400, no problem.
What would they need to watch out as far as network?
So yeah,
infrastructure.
One thing that one key thing is, remember, these are IP cameras pushing 4K video. That's a lot of bandwidth. So 400 cameras, I'm pretty sure fiber is going to be the backbone. I mean, locally, On the network, you shouldn't have to worry about it. But trying to see 400 cameras remotely, then
You're not going to see 400 at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll see
for sure. Just keep in mind
groups of the cameras.
it's a heavy load, 400 cameras on a network.
Can you install the CMS on a network server? Guys, we're going to open up questions later, but we're answering questions now. So you can install the CMS on a network server and have client PCs pull up the CMS software.
So depending on how your network's set up, if it allows you to do that remote viewing, you wouldn't really need to. You can just do it on the PC itself. I think it'd be a lot less on the server than having a bunch of people log into it. Yeah, but you can set up users on it and have different users log into it if you wanted to do it that way. Sure.
Can you install the Bolide CMS in as many computers as you want?
As many computers as you want. Yeah.
Okay, and you can just set up user privileges, right?
User privileges.
Admin, user.
Yeah, and the CMS is separate from the recorder. It's got its own Active Directory, if you want to give it that, aside from the recorder. So the software has its own login, its own management options. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna open up for questions. So we're already answering a bunch of them, but I'm gonna wrap up the webinar. I want to say thank you again to everybody who joined us. Now the discount code. So we're doing a 15% discount off of one of these 64 channel NVRs. If you want to use it for a project or just want to try it out, you can go ahead and contact your Bolide rep or your Bolide distributor and let them know that you joined the webinar today, and we will honor that for you. Okay, but you'll also find this webinar. It's being recorded, so feel free to forward it to your colleagues, your guys, your team there. It will be on YouTube. We'll be sending you guys the link a little bit after the webinar. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And please check out our website, bolideco.com. Okay, so we're going to stay on to answer questions, but again, I want to thank everybody for spending the time with us today to view this webinar. I think this is something great and something unique and another offering for your customers. Okay, let's answer a question here. All right, thanks, Craig. Can I integrate analog cameras to my Bolide CMS if I have analog DVRs?
So that's an excellent question. You can. You want to do a mix at a job site that has 64 cameras, IP cameras, and they need small DVR or even a large DVR. The CMS will allow you to scale those both. Yep.
Where is your office located? We're in San Dimas, California, Southern California, 20 miles east of Los Angeles. Do you have a demo site of the that they can see the cameras on this NVR?
So yeah, we have a demo. We might not have 64 cameras. We have many customers out there. We can for sure get you, if you want to see what that's like, get you, permission from a customer and see if they'll allow us to demo it to one customer, or but yeah, for sure.
We've had several projects that I can recall. Cannabis facility, schools we've done.
Warehouses, right? A lot of warehouses have these bigger systems, really large warehouses. Yeah.
So Michelle will contact you after the webinar and we'll arrange a demo for you. Oh, casinos. They said casinos.
Oh yeah, casinos. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely casinos.
Do you have a smaller NVR option? Yes, we have a 32 channel with 16 port PoE. We have a 32 channel with 32 port PoE, an 8 channel with 8 port PoE, and a 4 channel with 4 port PoE. All right, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate it. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Again, thanks, guys. Hopefully, we answered all your questions. If you guys think of a question, you can go ahead and email us. You can see our email addresses on your screen. Um, we'll be more than happy to help you out and look at a demo. And keep in mind that the discount code at the end of the webinar. All right, so guys, thanks for joining me today, and see you guys on the next webinar.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.